Hi, this is Steve. I want to show you how easy it is to use the Accounts Receivable module in Dynamics GP. We're going to start by creating some customers, and then we're going to look at some reporting and inquiry, and then applying documents, and also doing some cash receipts, and then voiding transactions. So let's get started. The first thing I want to do is go to the sales area page. And to add a new customer, we'll go to the cards area and click on customer. This will bring up the customer maintenance screen, and in here I can look at existing customers I have, but I can also add new customers. So let's create a new customer. I'm going to have to enter the customer ID, and typically what I do is I put some alpha characters to identify that particular customer, and I might put some numbers at the end to help eliminate duplicates. So let's do that right now. And then I want to make sure that I put an address ID in. So I'm going to do that now. Put an address ID in, and I can enter the customer's address here. But one of the most important things I want to do is I want to assign this new customer to a class ID up here. So I'm going to look up my existing class IDs. And the reason I do this is because it makes it easier to add information about the new customer. And it will send all the defaults for the accounts and other options within the customer to make it easier to not only do the sorting and the reporting on the customer, but add additional new customers in. So here's my customer information. I can add additional information I want to. When I assign it to a class ID, automatically all the account numbers that are going to be used in transactions associated with this customer are going to be added as well. I can have as many addresses as I want to for a particular customer. I'll just add them in here. And then if I want to set email parameters for that particular customer, I can do that as well. So let's take a quick look at some of the reporting and inquiry abilities in the Accounts Receivable module. The first thing, let's look at a report. If you want to run a customer aging, you go to the sales area page, go to trial balance, and then select one of the reports to print. This is a typical print dialog in Dynamics GP. So I'm looking at trial balance. This is an aging report in Dynamics GP, and I've got a couple options here. This is the one that I pick most often. And then I can have additional options that will allow me to sort exactly the information that I want in that report. Let's take a look at this existing one here. I can select it and then hit modify, and it's going to show me the way this particular report is set up. And I can have as many report options as I want to. So this report is going to report in detail, and the destination is down here. This report is going to go to the screen, which I want, so that's okay. And then if I want to, I can add this to my reports area on my home page. I would just click that here, or I can just go ahead and print that. So I'm going to go ahead and print this. And Dynamics GP has a couple hundred standard reports like this, and there's typically a dialog box similar to this that allows you to identify the parameters that you're going to use when the report's printed. So this is going ahead and printing the report. So this is a standard aging report that comes with Dynamics GP. You can modify this if you want to, but usually people just use it the way it is. So let's take a look at some inquiry screens as well. If I go back to the sales area page and go to the inquiry window here, there's a number of different inquiries that I can use to get additional information about my customers and about my receivable transactions. The one that I use a lot is this one here, transactions by customer. Let's take a look at that, open that up. And if I look up a particular customer ID, I can see all the transactions related to that particular customer. So I'm going to select this one here. And this will show me all the transactions for that particular customer. You can see that I've got different buckets of information. I've got open, historical, and I may have some work ones which represent transactions that are in a batch. So here's an open receivables transaction. I can select that and I can drill back on it by clicking on the document number. It'll bring up that transaction, so I get some additional information about that transaction. If I want to, I can print it out to a printer. I can also email it to my customer if I want to. Another thing that's easy to do in receivables management in Dynamics GP is to apply existing credits to existing invoices in Dynamics GP. So to do that, I'm going to go to the sales area page again, go to the transactions, and I'm going to scroll down a little bit here and get to the apply sales document. So again, what this lets me do is apply posted credits or payments to existing debits or invoices in my system. So for example, I might look up a customer ID here, look up Adam Park again, and then I would search for the document that I wanted to apply. So I have this return document here for $128.40, and I might want to apply it to one of these sales orders. I could just do that here, and you can see I've got the sales invoice here, and I applied the credit there, and then I'm done. So let's take a look at cash receipts. Again, I'm going to go to the sales area page, go to transactions, and click on cash receipts. So let's enter a cash receipt here. I'm going to enter a payment number. This is automatically generated by the system. And I'm going to look up my customer again. Here's my customer. And enter the payment information. So this happens to be a check, and it's for $10,000. So I'm going to enter the $10,000 amount. And I'm going to list the checkbook ID that it goes to when it's posted, and I can enter the check number here if I want to. And then what I can do is I can just post it the way it is and go back and apply it later. But while I'm here, why don't I use the handy apply button and apply to existing transactions that are already in the system. So this is a list of all the transactions, the open transactions that are in my system. If I want to hit auto apply, it would automatically apply those amounts. But let's select individual invoices and apply it that way. So I'm going to select this invoice here. It automatically puts the entire amount that's available. But say, for example, the customer says, well, I don't want to pay all of that. I just want to pay $5,000 of that amount. I can do that here. Just enter the $5,000. It's going to leave the remaining amount on receivables, and say I want to apply the difference to the other invoices here. I can just click on that invoice. It's automatically going to apply the entire $10,000 to this invoice here and this invoice here. I hit OK. And typically I'm going to add this to a batch, so I could add this to a batch ID here. I can name the batch whatever I want to. It's going to ask me to add that batch. And it's already picked the checkbook ID, so I'm going to save that batch and then save that transaction into it. Now it brings up another window. I could add a different cash receipt if I want to, but let's just go ahead and say, well, I'm going to post that batch now. So I'll go to this little expansion arrow here. It's going to bring up this window. Let me close this one behind here. So I've got a batch here of cash receipts. I've got one transaction in it. And to post this, all I need to do then is post the transaction or post the batch. It's going to go ahead and post all the transactions in that batch. In this case, there is just one, and then I'm done. What you can also do in receivables management in Dynamics GP is you can void historical transactions. So if you have a transaction that was posted and it was posted in error and you need to void it, you can easily do that. To do that, I'll go back to the sales area page, go to transactions, click on posted transactions. It'll bring up this screen. And then I look at the transaction. And then I find the transaction for the customer that I want to void. So let me look up the customer. And then I can look up all the transactions that are posted for that particular customer. So let's say I've got a payment here that needs to be voided. I can select that, and then I can void it. So what that's going to do is going to reverse that initial cash receipt. It's going to take it out of accounts receivable. It's also going to take it out of the receipts in bank reconciliation. So that was a quick view of the accounts receivable functionality in Dynamics GP. We created a new customer. We did some basic reporting and inquiry on that customer. We applied some existing documents to a customer. We entered a cash receipts, and then we showed you how to void transactions.